This chart shows the debt as a percentage of GDP, and the gray lines represent recessions that we had. The interesting pattern of this curve is that it grew pretty steadily until 2010, but then the Great Recession came and debt as a percentage of GDP increased from 60% to 100%, so almost doubled. And then we have the plague, COVID, and here there was another big jump in debt as a percentage of GDP. The point of the next few slides is to show what are the implications of this enormous amount of debt on the economy and on the income of the population. There's been considerable major research since 1800. Reinert and Rogoff went back and they looked at the performance of the economies when debt over GDP rose above 90%. And what they found invariably in all countries is that GDP growth declined. The United States process is exactly as history is teaching. GDP growth has been steadily declining from growth rates of around 3.3% to now, if we're lucky, around 1 to 2%. So this is an important trend that probably won't be reversed. This is where the tire hits the road, I guess. This is again is debt that increased 4 times. And this is personal, disposable, real personal income per capita. In other words, how much money we are making per capita, per person after tax. And as debt increased 4 times, our income per capita in real terms after tax increased 2 times. But the interesting thing is the last few years, since 2020, in spite of all this huge amount of debt, we just are going nowhere. So we reached the point where any amount of debt is going to be very difficult to create growth and income. This process is not only happened to us, is also happening to Europe and to Japan. These are very important trends. Why? Well, one theory is that debt in the hands of the bondholders, and we need to pay the interest to the bondholders. And the more debt we have, the more income from us in like taxes or any other way, inflation is income that goes to the bondholders. So we become poorer and poorer, and for this reason, the economy slows down. This is one theory. I like it. Inflation is the main cause of why we are losing our income, and this is caused by really how much money the government prints or the Fed prints, which is almost the same thing anyway. A Nobel Prize, Milton Friedman, in the 60s, said that the main cause for inflation is how much money is being printed. And this chart shows it. If we didn't have much inflation from 1990 to 2020, and the reason is because the money supply grew anywhere between, on average, between 3 and 6%, which is what he said, by the way. But look at what happened. The high inflation in the 70s and inflation now is because the money supply grew much faster than this 3-6%. In fact, after the plague or COVID, the money supply, because of government generous programs and the printing of the press of the Federal Reserve, the money supply grew up more than 24% year over year. Of course, no surprise that this is, by the way, 2021, that by 2022 we had inflation soaring. Now, What is this chart saying right now? Well, it's saying something that is probably not good news. Why? Because you see, the inflation rose very rapidly and the economy grew very rapidly, unbelievable rate of growth. But now look what happens to liquidity. Liquidity is being drained by the Fed to an unprecedented pace. Never came down so fast. So what is my take? Well, my take is that, and that was some people much smarter than I am, that this decline in the money supply is going to go a sharp, very sharp recession, which is probably going to cause prices to decline. Already real estate is declined quite a bit, quite fast. It's going to cause deflation. Now, it's not that deflation is going to stay forever. As always, the government will panic sometimes in 2023, 24, and start printing money like crazy, and here we go again. But in the next 1 to 2 years, what this line is saying, we are heading for trouble and much, much lower inflation, if not deflation. Well, thank you very much for following these thoughts. I really sincerely hope you found them useful for your financial planning. Again, I publish several things, as you can see on this page. Please do keep in touch at www.peterdag.com. Thank you and have a wonderful day.